Hey everyone, what's going on? Today we're talking about Thiel's involvement with Palantir and Facebook. I'll try and keep this intro super short, but if you are enjoying the series, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And with that, let's get right into it. At the same time he was creating Clarium, he also created the Founders Fund. This is the sort of BC arm of his investment branch, and like really where his money starts becoming like insane multiples that like you and I can no longer comprehend. So he starts with Mark Zuckerberg in 2004. He is the angel, so the first investor in Facebook, for 10.1% for $500,000. This $500,000 turns into $638 million. Actually, a lot more. But that was just the amount they sold during the initial sort of IPO, which again, ridiculous portions of amounts of money that he's making at this point. And then I just like also wanted to note that Zuck's, like, these are comments from Zuck about Thiel, and there's also been and was a lot of people who said that Thiel's relationship to Zuck was very weird, and like they were very close despite sort of one in theory being the director and boss of the other one. And Thiel's level of involvement was very weird in early Facebook. I don't know a whole lot about that and didn't go into that sort of side of things, but I'm pretty sure a story there if you wanted to go dig in. But they also made a bunch of other sort of notable early investments, including Airbnb, which we'll get back to in a little bit. Ardrill, which is another Thiel. So Thiel, also, as well as created a bunch of invested in a bunch of companies, he also created a bunch of companies. This is one of the companies that was created by exclusively by people who used to work for Thiel, and is fully backed by companies that, or businesses that Thiel owns. Just like it's just a very sort of incestual network of closed money, people, and information. But like the people he started this with, which are also important to jump back to for a second, are Luke Nosek, who we talked about earlier, Sean Parker, who is the founder of Napster and Facebook, and like I don't know if you've seen the Network Effect movie, but he's the dude who like walks in and like throws the computer down and is all angry. Yeah, that's Sean Parker, and that's like the mental image I have of him, which ironically isn't him himself. And Ken Howry, who also co-founder of Facebook, worked on this goddamn paper as an editor with Thiel, was buddy in college, started PayPal together, is now the current ambassador to Sweden, and I believe has been named the ambassador to Denmark, like the next ambassador to Denmark. But I just wanted to throw all of these people up here so you could see who they were and sort of where they fall in relation to Thiel. You got Ken Howry, also in the PayPal Mafia. Zuck, there's no pictures of Zuck and Thiel that I could find easily, so you just get a fucking screenshot of Zuck's face. Amazing. No longer looks like a robot. Still don't know how that transition happened. But yeah, then you have this was then again in September. They were flexing their credit card that they had made for PayPal, or I guess X.com, the bank. And then this is a picture from X.com of the two of them post, I believe it was 2024, hashing it out at some conference or talking at some conference together. But that brings us to the next company that Thiel has started and invested in. But we're going to look at the sort of where this company came from. So Palantir is this orb that Sauron is using in this photo to see where Gandalf and Frodo are with the One Ring. And so it's like this all-seeing orb that's all powerful, like all knowledgeable, and able to find anything. Is like the idea. And so Thiel, like, I guess, reads Tolkien and loves it and goes, I'm going to start a company that can do this. So, lo and behold, bankrolls a bunch of smart-ass Stanford grads to create a rough version. And as they're going about it, they're, like, struggling because, like, everyone sort of hears this and is, like, hears the name of the company and is like, what is... like, are you serious? Like, are we actually making, like, evil shit now? Like, is that just cool? And sort of super hesitant until Alex Karp enters the picture. Karp is this, like, sort of smooth talker, like, cool as can be, like, recruiter, for lack of better terms. Yeah, but he is able to pull in both contracts, funding, and... talent. He's able to recruit a ton of talent that's able to build a much more sophisticated sort of data analytics tool that's able to, like, if you have a bunch of data, say hundreds of hours of flight logs at an airport, and you want to see who walked around that airport and what, like, you know, if somebody walked into the airport and then, like, horrendously shot it up, you can watch all of the tape of the time before they walked into the airport to see how they behaved and what patterns they exhibited. But instead of having to comb through all of this security footage, Palantir is this technology that in theory could do it for you in a matter of seconds. Again, so this is 2013 now. A little bit later, Thiel talking about Palantir. That's the actual name of the company. It's a mission-oriented company, which I have to just throw in quotes because, like, holy shit, that sounds so fake. And he said, like, his idea behind building this was similar to PayPal's fraud recognition systems to reduce terrorism while preserving civil liberties. Like, the justification, reduce terrorism while preserving civil liberties, just makes no sense to me. Like, I don't see how you can be creating this all-seeing eye that you're, like, fully aware is named after a technology that is used for nefarious purposes and say it's to preserve civil liberties. I don't see how that logic tracks. Palantir. This is the company itself. Their goal is to augment human intelligence. So think FBI rather than NSA. So after they sort of build out this program with Karp, the first client he's able to recruit is the CIA. They are the only client from 2005 to 2008. After 2009, they sort of expand to the rest of the alphabet soup that it is our defense contract, our Defense Department. Think like FBI, Homeland, DHS, all, like, alphabet soup that goes on and on. But they also, like, they developed, I believe it was called Tiberius, is the name of their software, that was the program to algorithmically tell them where vaccines needed to be distributed during COVID. So the idea was, like, certain areas had higher adoption rates of vaccines, and this was, like, especially early on when vaccines didn't last very, like, the shelf life of vaccines wasn't very long. You had to make decisions of where to send vaccines to so that people could get them and they could get administered. And that was something that Palantir helped with. But today, they have a market cap of $400 billion. And, like, after the presentation, we might go hop over to look at their stock price over the past 10 years, I guess. It went public in 2013. But basically, since 2025, their stock prices has shot straight through the roof. So there was also some rumors that they played or were a key facet in finding Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. because they were sort of the CIA's only client, and it was sort of a black box of information of like a lot of money and talent was walked into this black box, and they produced nothing, only worked for the CIA, and then all of a sudden, a year later after this happened, all of the other Defense Departments wanted contracts with them. It's just like, okay, well, if they didn't play a part, something happened with them in the CIA that the CIA was happy with how it turned out and was willing to expand to the rest of the Department of Defense. But I am not one to speculate on these topics. So somebody who was one to speculate on these topics was Whitney Webb. She was an investigative journalist who basically wrote this article that Palantir is all like a Pentagon program, i.e. government, whole conspiracy theory. They're tied to the CIA, Mossad, Epstein. Like, it's all sort of hokey, if you will. But I did want to throw this on here because although this was published in Chinese on a site known for propagating Russian news, it was found out that like very, very recently, Palantir was funded from In-Q-Tel, who, if you go to who is the owner of In-Q-Tel and like you type that into Google, it comes up the CIA. So they're like a federal government investment VC firm that invests in companies that are supposed to help the government. I don't fully understand what they do, but it's literally listed that their ownership is the CIA. And I just didn't find that to be coincidence. I don't know, sue me. But you can't see it, but the picture I blocked out is a cover of George Orwell's 1984, because that is also sort of Palantir Big Brother, very similar vibes. But I wanted to throw Alex Karp onto this map of people who Peter Thiel is talking with. So I should actually slow down and talk about this a little bit more. Basically, I'm just throwing everyone who we see Peter Thiel having a very close connection with onto this map. So we can see all the people he's talking to and what their significance is. But yeah, you got some good pictures of them together. They're definitely homies. And yeah, Palantir is also helping Israelia with their defense forces. Not sure. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Also, leave a comment if you have any questions and I'll try my best to answer them. Tomorrow we'll look at Thiel's fascination with fantasy and start to intro into his political and philosophical beliefs. Thanks again for watching.